Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining. I see you, Dari Jam. Welcome, Slick Marvin. Slick Marvin, thank you for the energy. Priscilla Akinwekomi, thank you so much. Good to have you here this evening. So good to have you. My name is Christiana Adebi, and I would like to welcome you to the 12 days of Teach Mars. Drum rolls. Du- 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 du. It's so good to have you here with us this evening. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I see you are back. Yemi, Queen Esther, good evening. Good to have you here with us. So good to have you. Please do me a favor, everyone. Please, can you tag your teacher friends? Let them join us. Tell them that something good is happening this evening right in the comfort of their homes. We're not even calling them to come out. They should just log on your phone and just join us. Okay, this evening we're going to be talking about effective classroom management. Effective classroom management. And I'm going to be joined by Chidinma shortly. I'll be joined by Chidinma shortly. Okay, so while we're waiting for Chidinma, everyone, please could you kindly just go on to tag a teacher friend, tell them that 12 days of Teach Mars is happening. 12 days of Teach Mars is happening. As a matter of fact, you can do me a favor and just put it up on your social media and just say 12 days of Teach Mars is live. What do you think about that? Yes, I was going to say that for the next 12 days, we're going to be having educators on this platform, and they're going to be sharing with us on different topics. We're going to be learning from them, just getting from their wealth of experience. Okay, and for that, we're going to be retaining or using the hashtag 12 days of Teach Mars. You know, the way you spell Christmas, but instead of Christmas, you say Teach Mars. 12 days of Teach Mars. Okay, so please tag your friends, tell them to join us this evening. Our topic for this evening is effective classroom management. Effective classroom management. Effective classroom management. And I want everyone who is live with me right now to just tell me, when you hear that word effective, what comes to mind? When you hear effective, what comes to mind? Thank you so much for joining, Honorable Easy. Thank you so much for joining, Kushimo Henry. Good to have you here. We can't wait to host you. I am Makan. Thank you so much for joining. Good to have you here. Princess Chioma Ubaka, thank you so much for joining. So good to have you here. So when we hear the word effective, what comes to mind? Effective. When something is effective, what comes to mind? Please share with me. I'd like to read from you. Okay, thank you. Just a moment. This is evidence that I live in Nigeria. Oh my goodness. So sorry about that. Okay, I hope that you can see me. All right, thank you so much. Yes, Darejam says achieving the desired results. Yes, when something is effective, that means it does what it was actually meant to do. And we're talking about effective classroom management this evening. Effective classroom management. And I was saying it earlier, guys, that I actually didn't start enjoying teaching until I learned how to manage my classrooms effectively. It was after I learned how to manage my classrooms effectively that I then began to enjoy teaching. That was when I actually started getting the best, not only out of my own abilities, but also getting the best out of the learners, because we weren't spending our teaching time correcting behavior. Okay, thank you so much. All right. So while we're waiting for our guest, you know how technology, I'm sure that we all can, just bear with our guest. We know how technology can be sometimes, you know. So I'm sure she's working on sorting it out. And honestly, I don't, if you have an idea about what she can do, because she's left the meeting, she's joined already, but it's still not connecting. So just in case you have a tip for us, please let us know. Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you so much for joining Toluwala Share. Good to have you in the meeting. Yeah, wow. I can't see you yet, but I can hear you clearly.
Oh yes, it's good to be here. I'm not
Okay,
even sure how to.
you're having some issues, right? Or not a problem at all. We're just going to make do with your voice for now until we can sort it out. It's so good to have you here. Like I said earlier, guys, our guest for this evening is Chidinma. I'm going to stick to Chidinma because I'm not very good with pronouncing your other names. I hope you do not mind. Now, she is a seasoned professional who currently serves as the executive director of Chelsea University. And, her skills in business relationship management have been pivotal, allowing her to navigate complex projects and foster meaningful connections within the business community. It is so good to have you here. Oh, you all can see her. Okay, wow. How come I can't see her? Wow. Okay. Oh, so good to have you here. I don't know. I think there's something really going on right now with this technology, but I am super excited and I feel so honored that you are here this evening. Thank you so much. It's such a privilege to have you. Please, Dr. Oh, okay. That's a private joke. That's a private joke. Chidima, please. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Thank you, Christiana. It's lovely to be here. Good evening, everyone. Apologies again for how long it's taking me to join. I'm not quite sure what went wrong there. But thank you for that introduction. My name is Chidinma Obianodo. The doctor will come in future, but yes, it's Chidinma Obianodo for now. Um, and I've worked in different industries, different sectors, from agriculture to hospitality to construction. I've mostly worked in the business side of things, executing and managing projects in these different sectors. Education is actually my most recent sector, and I currently serve as the executive director of Chelsea University and Chelsea College. Chelsea College is a vocational college, and it's still in the works. And I currently serve as the SA to the current Senior Special Assistant to the President on Technical, Vocational, and Entrepreneurship Education. So that's my day job. And yeah,
Awesome.
great to be here.
Well, like I said, it's such a honor, such a delight to have you here. I am so excited. Like I was telling, okay, I think we'll leave our personal and private jokes for later. Thank you so much. It's so good to have you here with us. Now, if you're just joining us, I would like to welcome you to the 12 days of Teachmas. It's going to be 12 beautiful days with teachers from around the globe. We're going to cover 12 topics, and I'm sure that you're going to learn a whole lot while you also connect with these educators. Before we proceed, please, I'd like to tell you to tell us why education. You mentioned that you've gone into different sectors. So why are you in education now?
Right. Well, I've all asked this question quite a few times. Um, so education was because as I moved through all the different industries, I found a unifying factor, and that was education. So I found that the skills that we need in all these different industries come to the same baseline. How prepared are people for the workforce? And who's really working at preparing people for the workforce? Um, so it came back down to education. So my specialty is actually in technical and vocational education or higher education, but I guess the same principles apply to many, to both the basic education and the higher education. So yes, it was just to make a difference in the foundation of the workforce.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm just blushing a lot here. All right, even though I can't see you and I feel so pained about that, I don't know what's happening right now. I wish that there's a way I can sort it out without having to leave the meeting, but I guess we're just going to move past that because we have to continue the conversation. Thank you so much for being here again. All right, so the topic before us this evening is classroom management, effective classroom management. And just before you joined, somebody defined that word effective for us, and they said that it is when something does what it was intended for. So, yes, so we're talking about a classroom management system that actually works basically. That's what the core of our conversation this evening is. And I was telling the audience earlier that for me, I did not enjoy teaching until I got a hang of classroom management because I realized that because I couldn't manage the classroom in quotes, half of my time that I was meant to be spending to teach my learners, I would spend half of, even, am I talking about half? More than half of that time correcting behavior. And then at the end of the day, it will leave me undermined, stressed, and I'll just feel overwhelmed at the end of it all. So please talk to us. Why is it important for teachers to take this issue of classroom management seriously?
Oh, right. So I agree with the first speaker. I must have missed that as well. But it is classroom management is extremely important because it is the way you are able to ensure that your learners, that your classes go smoothly and that you minimize disruptive behavior. So in classrooms, as well as in other sectors, you have to have a structure, you have to have a plan, and you have to have complete control of the situation in order to realize your plans. So I'm going to use both a mix of business speak and then classroom speak because in all different areas. So classroom managers is crucial because if you don't have an environment that is conducive to learning, to growth, you're not going to get very far with your students. Um, just like in construction, for example, a construction site helps you to ensure safety, efficiency, pretty much the same thing. Effective classroom management ensures that you're able to meet your educational objectives in a safe, in an orderly, and in a respectful environment. Um, And I liked your point about you didn't begin to start enjoying teaching until you mastered effective classroom management, because that's typically the biggest concern for beginner teachers, how to manage their classrooms. But I'm sure as we go along, we'll, we'll expand a bit on that.
Fantastic. Something stood out for me while you were talking now. You spoke about a respectful environment. Can you tell us what that looks like in the classroom? A respectful environment.
Okay, I mean, that's a great question. This is contextual because I know that we're in Nigeria, we're in Africa, where we tend to favor one style of classroom management over the other. But I guess there are different styles of classroom management. Some teachers prefer a more authoritarian type classroom management where their word is law, this is structured, you're not going to do anything aside of what is set. Some people are more permissive, some people, whatever works for the students, they're a bit more indulgent. Um, but I think a style that works is one that's authoritative. So it's a sweet spot. You're able to set firm rules, firm boundaries, but at the same time, you can go a bit with the flow and work according to your learner's needs. So a respectful classroom structure would involve learning your students' needs and finding ways to adapt, especially when you have more challenging students in class. So that's something to take note of, especially in Nigeria. I know that here we tend to favor, more high-handedness.
You got us there.
Mhm.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. While you were speaking now, you spoke about different types of teachers. I'd like you to elaborate on that. I heard the teacher that is just, permissive, just allow anything goes. And then I heard the teacher that is authoritarian. Please, can you just elucidate or expand on that a bit more?
Okay, so an important thing in classroom management, my opinion, is first of all knowing what kind of teacher you are so that you're able to be most effective. Um, and depending on the type of teacher you are, then it affects the way you manage your classrooms. So there are different sorts of teachers that I've come across in my study. You have people who are more lecturer-like, so they come and then they lecture the class pretty much. They say what they have to say, and they're talking at the class. You have people would who would demonstrate a lot more. So they want to, show and tell what's going on. You have people who are a good mix of different types. You have people who are like facilitators. So they stand in the middle and then they facilitate discussion. So they inspire discussions amongst people. And there are people who like sort of like delegate. So they say, oh, you come teach us this, you know. So they're all different kinds of teachers, um, and different kinds of teachers prefer different styles of classroom management. But it's important that you know yourself. If you know yourself, you're better able to take care of yourself, and then you're able to handle your class better. Um, and then that spills over to the other things that are important in classroom management. And I think I'm going a bit above the question. But yeah, let me let you come in.
All right, thank you so much. Wow, wow. Okay, so if you're just joining us, this is day one of the 12 days of Teachmas, and so far it has been an enlightening conversation with Chidinma Obianodo. Chidinma Obianodo's academic journey has been marked by excellence with a Master of Education in Teacher Education and Professional Development from the prestigious University of Oxford, where she is currently pursuing further studies. And she also holds a Bachelor of Science in Biology, Biological Sciences from the University of York. Thank you so much. Like I said, it's good to have you here. So let's talk a bit more, because I know that in our audience we have teachers, we have some parents as well, and adult learners want to learn to apply. So what are some tips and strategies that you have for teachers? And just before you get into that, I would also like to encourage everyone who is watching right now. This is a community. Please jump on the conversation as well. Ask questions if you have any. Also, share your thoughts with us. I'll be happy to read them out. Thank you. So please go on.
Right. So tips and strategies. What are the best ones? I'll share a couple. First, I think you should always set clear expectations for your students. And I know that depending on what class of students you teach, it might differ from class to class. So whatever class you're in, establish clear expectations and make sure that the students understand what the expectations are. It's important to make connections with your students. So you build positive relationships with your students. And that typically involves, working one-on-one with students. I know this might be challenging if you work in a larger class, but I guess using a mix of things like praise, getting close to the students, um, correction, well, pre-correction kind of, because you anticipate problems before they start. You can start to build positive relationships with each student, and then have routines. It can be very difficult for students um, to children need structure. So it can be pretty difficult for students if there's no structure, if you just, today it's different, next tomorrow is different. So you have to have some sort of routine that unifies things. And you can always bring in other elements to keep it fresh, but it's important for them to have routines to help them.
Okay.
Positive reinforcements.
Please,
Go on.
please, Dr. Chidinma, permit me permit me to cut you there. I feel like you're
Sure.
loading us with a lot. Please, let's digest it. Let's digest it. I've heard you say set clear expectations. Yes, and I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. I feel that it is when the expectations are known that people can then work towards even achieving your expectations, or even going further than that to exceed your expectations. And I think that in our culture, there's this assumption that because you are 25 years old, you should know. Because you are in primary four, you should know that people should sit in their chairs when a class is going on. Well, don't just assume that they should know because they are so and so years old. Have you told them? Have you taught them? Yes, there are expectations of certain people, but you should communicate clearly what you want. So I heard that correctly. Set your expectations. And you didn't even say set your expectations. You said set clear expectations. So you have to state explicitly what it is that you want as a teacher. I also heard you say that we should build relationships with our learners. And I also totally agree with that, because our learners are, they know when you genuinely like them. And when they bought into you, it's easier for them to pay attention to you. So, and you gave tips for that, praise them where necessary, and just be interested in them as an individual, as a person, actually be interested in these learners. And then I heard you talk about routines as well. Routines, let them know what it is that you're doing at so and so time. I feel like if you don't have routines, it just seems like everything is scattered. Like today, what are we doing today? Well, I guess that's why schools even have timetables, so that you can establish those routines with your learners. Don't just wake up and say, today I'm in a good mood. we're going out in the sunshine. Tomorrow I'm in a bad mood. No class, everybody sleep. No, you have to establish clear routines, and that helps them to feel structure, to like to help them to align with your expectations as well. Ah, I had to digest that. Please, you can go on, Dr. Chidinma.
No, I mean, so just a bit more on routines. Like, it's so important, um, and I find parallels in like different sectors. So, for example, in the business world, they're like what we call standard operating procedures. Um, that's classroom routines. They pretty much they help you predict what's going to happen with a lot of the
Mm,
situation. They help the students manage their expectations, or it helps you as a teacher manage what you expect from the students. It saves time. You know, it allows you to focus, allows the students to focus more on learning and you to focus more on teaching. So routines are extremely important. Um, but yeah, so the other points I was going to mention were things like positive encouragement, and just engaging with the learners. So there's lots of tips for um, creating this, for managing lots of strategies and lots of tips. And I'm sure each teacher develops theirs as they go along. And that's kind of
okay.
how like teaching works. I think you, as you go along in your journey, you evolve, you learn from other teachers as to what works and what doesn't work, and you experience challenging students. You develop more, you develop, you know, routines and strategies that help you deal with that, things like that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I was going to ask about positive encouragement or reinforcement, like you said. Now, what happens when a learner has been um, positively reinforced quite a number of times, but then the learner is defiant or just, let me use the word naughty,
Hmm.
just keeps repeating the same behavior that they've been corrected about over and over again? What happens then?
So this is a tricky one, but and there are different schools of thought on this. But I belong to the school that says that the problems you see with your students are typically problems with adults. So my brother, he trains dogs, and he says there are no bad dogs, just bad dog owners. And I don't mean to draw parallels with children and dogs, but it's kind of the same principle. You Most of the problems you see with children are typically problems that adults can fix, with a
Hmm.
bit more study, with a bit more focus on how to adapt to that particular child. Um, and again, it moves from child to child. So, for example, my son has ADHD, and he he really struggled in a particular setting in the first school he went to, the first primary school he went to. And I have to pull him out, and he's now in a homeschooling setting where he tries to exhibit the same level of defiance, but he hasn't been able to succeed with it because now there's more one-on-one, getting to know him, getting to know what his needs are, and just insisting on him following a structure. So eventually, children will break down and follow the structure that is insisted on. Obviously, you have to balance discipline with encouragement because you don't want to break a child's spirit. Um, but yes, with dedication, with a bit of patience, you can typically get through to most children, most learners, and that goes for adults as well. Um, and sometimes you also have to draw in parents, so you have to get parental involvement because it's a whole ecosystem thing. You have to have everyone. It takes a village.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes. So I like that you touched on collaboration with the parents. So the parents also have to be um, involved. And I think that's where feedback also comes in for the teachers. So there's no way a parent will know that their child is being disruptive in the classroom if they aren't told. So I think that it's also important for teachers to give feedback, not just to the child, but to the parents as well, to the parents of that child. Always just let them know that, oh, this is the progress we've made. This is what your child is struggling with. But what happens if you maybe come in contact or with a parent that is maybe in denial, if I may use that term? So you tell them that in school today your child used a bad word on another child, and the parent is like, never, not my child, the child that I, okay, let me stop the drama. But what if a parent doesn't see what you're saying as a teacher?
Right. So this is a common one because children are different people depending on the environment that they find themselves in. And I mean, everyone's different depending on the environment that they find themselves in. In environments where there's a bit more structure, sometimes you find that, and that's why they say Nigerians sometimes they go abroad and they behave completely different because you want to misbehavior, for example. So it kind of applies with teachers, with the children at home and in their school. Parents might not see what you see as a teacher, so it is expected that you and babies, children, parents are they dote on their children. They don't want to believe anything negative about their children. So you have to really handle those sorts of situations with some diplomacy. I would say when you have parents who um, are in disbelief about what their children do or do not do, it's important to keep records of, so you can discuss that with the parents, exact things that were said, what was done. And if a parent seems to be a negative influence, then you have to have like clear communications. Communication, communication, communication. You have to talk about what's going on. No sugarcoating. Again, you don't want to, there's sentiments involved, but you have to be clear. You have to collaborate with them. And then sometimes people are not born parents. They learn on the parenting journey. So you can also teach them about what you're doing in class and how they can home if they struggle at home, to help so that you're collaborating on this journey. Involve them. I was going to mention one last thing, but it's left my mind now. And I think we'll carry on with that.
Okay, all right. I hope that you remember. We want to get every piece of information that we can get out of you today. All right, thank you so much. I like that you touched on documentation, and I think that documentation is very important for people. You know, a child, not because you want to document the bad things that a child is doing. You also want to document the progress that a learner has made. You want to write things down such that at the end of the day, when you pick up that maybe notebook that you've been using for your documentation, you can see the journey that you've walked through with a learner. So maybe a learner came into your class cursing at other students, and by the time they leave your class, you have seen them grow into a much kinder person. I think that is a very powerful tool that every teacher should have. It can protect you on a day that, let me just say, maybe you have a court case to answer. But yes, let me not be that extreme, but you never can tell when that document can save the day. So yes, thank you, Dr. Chidinma, for that. This is a joke. Yes, it's going to come to pass. Please, I'll come and celebrate on that day. All right. So yes, documentation can save the day. You should also document. And thank you so much, everyone who is watching so far. This evening, we're talking about effective classroom management. And I've been speaking with Chidinma of Obianodo. Chidinma is driven by development and business relationship management. And she's committed to making a positive impact on the academic and industrial landscape. And she's been sharing her thoughts with us so far on effective classroom management. Should you have any questions for Chidinma, please, we would like to hear from you. If you have any comment based on what she's shared so far, please drop your comments in the comment section. Just add a comment. We'd like to hear from you. React to whatever we'd like to hear from you. Now, I'd like to just say this before we go on, that for each day of the 12 days of Teachmas, we're going to pick one teacher that is going to get a gift. Yes, a teacher is going to get a gift. It's called the Reflection Journal. So I have it here. I forgot to bring it out. Yes. So this is the Reflection Journal for teachers. It was designed and published by Christina Devi. That happened to me. So I'll be giving 12 copies of that to teachers this Teachmas. So to qualify to win, you're going to share your learnings from today's session on our page. Right after this session, we're going to have a post that will ask you to share what you learned from this session. And under that post, please just share your learnings from this session. And the post with the highest likes will get a gift. Now, please note that you're going to pay for the shipping cost to your location. Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Chidinma, becoming a reality. Do you have any any final words to add to what you've said so far?
Well, I would say I want to make a note on technology, for example, for starters. So there's a current trend where a lot of people are starting to incorporate technology into their classes, and some people find it disruptive. Some people find it to be very useful, and I think for that, it's just a word on it. I was hoping this would be a more interactive session where we could hear what people's experiences have been so far with things like technology, Um, but yes, so technology, I know it's very useful for interactive learning. You can use it to keep records. We just talked about, keeping records and feedback. Everyone has Google Classroom now, so you can communicate with students. And there are all sorts of apps and things. But I think it's also important to figure out a balance with technology, because technology can be very addictive. So as teachers, you have to figure out a way that creates balance, and it has to be on an individual basis. So, for example, my son can't use computers for his learning because he just goes down a rabbit hole. But my daughter can, because she's able to regulate her her attention span better. So if you're incorporating technology into your classrooms, in order for it to be effective and not disruptive, maybe find a strategy that works for individual learners, not just for the classroom. What
Fantastic.
else?
Oh,
No, go ahead.
I apologize. You were going to say something before I cut you.
No. Main thing I wanted to touch on.
Okay, I
But
wanted
yes,
to
go ahead.
share one of my wins with you on this issue of technology. I'd like to share a resource with teachers as well. Please go on to com. That is a resource for classroom management. And I was teaching Key Stage 1. So I was using the Class Dojo for my classroom management. It works with a point-based system where I sit with the learners and we agree together what is good behavior in this classroom. And we all list it out from um, clearing up after yourself, not be distracted during the lesson, hard work. We just list out together all the things that we consider to be good behavior in the classroom. And then after that, we agree how many points are we going to allot to someone who actively participated in the classroom. And this 6-year-old will tell me, oh, let's give 2 points. If you participate actively in the classroom, we'll give you 2 points. And then we all agree and we fix that. Then we go to what we consider unacceptable behavior in the classroom. Oh, if you maybe, for example, maybe you push someone or you shout, you don't use your indoor voice. How many points should I take off you? And then we also agree on that as well. And I found out that it gave the children a sense of community. Like they knew that we're in this together. We're building our classroom. So what are we doing to make it better? What should someone do that would be considered a no-no, and what point should they lose? And because of that, if I take away your points, you won't feel offended because we agreed together that if you do it, you lose this number of points. So I worked with Key Stage 1, and that was what I did. Now, I currently work in the Tees Church of my church, and we noticed that teenagers started skipping church. And sometimes when they come to church, they don't come with their Bibles, they don't come with their pens, they just come and just sit down and listen. It just occurred to me that I can do Class Dojo here. And I must confess that when I was going to start, I did not think that it would work. Because these ones are teenagers, and teenagers sometimes are like, hey, you took my point. So I didn't think it would work. But guess what? It actually worked for them. And even sometimes when I forget to give them their points, they're like, Sister Christiana, please give our points. My Bible is here, my pen is here, my jotter is here, and all of that. So yes, I totally agree with you that teachers should embrace technology. Technology is a tool that we can even use for classroom management. And please, this is a resource, free resource out there for every teacher to leverage, classdojo.com. The beauty of that is that you can even introduce it to your school such that it can be adopted by the whole school, and even parents can be added to the platform where parents get notified, oh, your child got 5 points for participating actively in class today. They didn't pay me for this. Class Dojo is not paying me to pay for them, but yes, please, for the community, it's totally worth it. Please come and share your Class Dojo stories with me. I'd love to hear. Thank you so much, Chidinma. It has been such an amazing conversation with you this evening. I apologize for the technical issues that we're having once again. And thank you for pulling through. Like, it is the resilience for me. Like, no, this thing, it must happen today. I appreciate you so much. It seems that you have done so well explaining all the points that nobody's asking a question. If anybody has a question for her, you can request I would not like you to request to join because that's causing a lot of issues right now. Just drop your question in the chat and I'm sure that she'll be happy to respond to you. In the meantime, please, can we all take a moment to just celebrate our speaker this evening? You can log up on her, you can just say thank you in the comment section. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. It has been such a okay. Days rounding up day 1 We're going to be going on this tomorrow, where we're going to be talking about collaborative teaching strategies, and we'll be joined by Olusheyi Babaride. So please keep it, make it a date with us. We'll be glad to have you tomorrow. Please, I need you guys to please log on Chidinma Obianodo. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you so much for gracing us with your
Thank you
presence.
again, once again.
Hi, Chidinma.
Sorry about the time. Yes, we could have talked about so much more, but I'm
It's
sure there'll be
fine.
other opportunities.
Certainly, I'll be happy to have you again and again. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Omolumenjoy. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Thank you, the Educators Hub. Thank you, Priscilla Akinwekomi. Thank you, Success Frank. Thank you, Ikeonyi. Thank you, Chris3953. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Olamide Agbolade. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you so much, Chidinma. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Christian. It's great to be here. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.